For our last few days in Kauai, our friends on Blue Raven came down to join us. We were both eyeing the same weather window to sail to the next atoll, but getting through the pass at slack tide required an early morning wake-up call. Once the anchors were up, we took off on a race to Fakarava. We're on our way down to Fakarava this morning, and we've got a little bit of an impromptu regatta going on. The boat closest to us is a 53-foot Halberg Rassie called Blue Raven, our friends from New Zealand. And off in the distance there's another monohull, Belvini, and we all went through the pass at Tuahi, I think I pronounce it, about the same time. So Blue Raven and us look just about equal. We've got our screecher out in full main, so we'll have a nice little race, see who gets to the North Pass of Fakarava first. It appears the Blue Raven's a bit faster than us going downwind. Kind of disappointing. They've got a pole for their head sail, and we don't, so that hurts. Had to get a little more downwind to make sure we get around the edge of the atoll so we can get to the pass. So we gave it a good try, but I guess they get bragging rights for today. Blue Raven took a wide turn into the pass, which allowed us to catch up and go through together. We'd arrived a bit before slack tide and had to make our way through a pretty strong current. But with Brian up in the rigging and Phoenix in the air keeping a lookout, we made it through just fine.
We're in Rotoava.
Not Fakarava.
Rotoava is the village.
Ah.
On the island of Fakarava. Yeah, in the Tuamotus.
Tuamotus. What are we doing here?
Walking around the village.
Explore time.
Yep.
Cool.
Some walking off the boat time.
Land feels weird.
Yep.
Alright, let's go. Some of these small little islands have to get a little creative with how you get ashore. The wharf for this little village is way on the other side of town, so we figured we would do a little tie up to a tree, stern anchor holding the stern out, and we'll leave little dipper here while we go tour the island. Our big excursion on Fakarava was to go tour a black pearl farm. Gunther was kind enough to show us around and explain how they cultivate pearls.
Okay, that's a place where we are making the pearl when we are in activity. We are not. Anyway, it's Saturday, we wouldn't be. They don't work Saturdays. And all the oysters are up there. You see far away white boys. Then it comes here, they have to clean it up. They have to put everything, all what is growing on it is very cutting. So we have to take it off for them to work. And then they go back here in the water in baskets. And then they are presented to the specialist. So I open up this oyster and then I explain you what you have to do to make cultured pearls.
What amazes me is that birds manage to open those. I mean, how do birds open shellfish? It's
They
so
pick
hard
them up
for
and they
humans.
actually bash them on the rocks.
Birds,
Yeah.
I don't know why they do,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
because I have
It's so
problems.
hard.
Okay, here you see the inside, and here you see what's called pearl pocket,
Ah.
because we are making the pearls in this pocket, or the pearliculture. In nature, you never will have a pearl inside there. That's the gonad. That's for reproduction only. It's completely closed.
So that's where you put them.
Yeah.
He puts them in your fruits.
It's completely closed. And if we put everything inside what we need, it will heal up and we can't lose a pearl. So, quickly I explain you how pearls are made in nature. It's a famous grain of sand. In nature, your oyster is sitting like that on corals. It doesn't move. And to nourish itself, it will filter water. And when filtering water, it can happen that the famous grain of sand is falling inside. But if it only falls inside, here inside, nothing will happen. It has to fall between the mantle, say under the mantle. That's the mantle. So if it falls here, this mantle, who is making the layers of all the inside of the oyster, will roll this grain of sand and cover it up, making layers. So most of the pearls who are made by nature are close to round because they are rolled. When we are making, in pearliculture, when we are making pearls, the grain of sand got bigger. We buy that. We call it nucleus, and the nucleus is a sphere, perfect sphere cut out of a shell. Most of them are coming from the United States, sweetwater mussels from Mississippi. So we are looking for a new oyster, and this new oyster now is opened up like that, not more. In this opening, you have to, the specialist has to operate, has to make the implant. Okay, he's looking for this pocket. The first time you don't have a pearl, and the pocket is roughly this size. He cuts in on top, puts in the craft, behind the craft, small nucleus, then it touches the craft. Then the oyster goes back into the water, and the following month we know that the craft will completely cover the nucleus. 18 months later, we take out the oyster, we open up like that, the guy will have a look if the pearl is good or not. If the pearl is good, he cuts in, takes out the pearl, and puts in now a new nucleus who has the same size than the pearl he's taking out. He's changing the pearl with a new nucleus. Now you can take a bigger nucleus because the pocket is accustomed to this size.
It was pretty fascinating to watch the whole process and learn about one of the major industries in the Tuamotus. And of course, there was a shop where you could check out the finished product. Amy came out with a few slightly imperfect pearls as souvenirs in order to create some do-it-yourself jewelry. We had enjoyed our few days in the village, but the real attraction in Fakarava is the amazing snorkeling down at the South Pass. There were quite a few large bommies around, so we chose to stick to the well-marked channel. Since we weren't in a rush, we decided to stop about halfway for a night, which allowed Blue Raven to catch up to us the next morning. After a quick goodbye for the time being, we went the rest of the way to the South Pass. We had some work to do before we could go play. One of our stanchions had started leaking and needed to be rebedded. Unfortunately, it was in a rather hard-to-reach place in the aft cabin, so I got to do some boat yoga to get at everything. My arms were a bit sore by the end, but I successfully stopped the leak, and that meant we could go have some fun at one of the best dive sites in the world. gray, windy, rainy day, but today is the day we have to leave Fakarava and head towards Tahiti in order to catch our flights back to the States. Probably have a few squalls along the way, but that's why we got our enclosure. My forecast was pretty spot on, so it wasn't my favorite sail ever, but things did clear up enough to give us a beautiful sunrise arrival into Tahiti.